Hey everyone, Hawks21 here, back with episode 4 of my Splinterlands Beginner's Guide series. Today's going to be an episode on the shorter side, just quickly covering the Modern vs. Wild League and the upcoming changes that are coming to the game. There aren't a ton of details on this yet that are completely confirmed, but I'm going to walk you through it as best I can. As always, if you enjoy the content or learned anything new, I would really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe. This will help get this series to more people and help get my channel off the ground. All right, let's get to the video. All right, so for those of you who are unaware, there are some changes coming to the Splinterlands ranked battle format. Right now, when you come to this main screen to battle, you just see ranked. And we don't actually know the exact date, but in a few months, they've sort of teased that this is going to change. There are going to be 2 leagues you can participate in. The first is the Modern League, which is going to consist of all of the quote-unquote modern cards. And there's also going to be the Wild format. So that's basically every single card that's ever been made can be used in the Wild format. We're not going to spend a ton of time on the Wild format because that's basically what you're playing now. Right now you can use every single card that's in the game, assuming it matches your league level, without consequence. So that's not going to change. What is going to change is the Modern format, which is what I've actually sort of created my deck for. So if you go up to cards, how Splinterlands is going to do this going forward is, at least right now, I don't know if they'll expand or change this at any point, but for now, the 2 most recent major sets, which are Untamed and Chaos Legion, are going to be available to be played. I'm actually going to head to the market. Oh yeah, Untamed and Chaos Legion, which were the last 2 major sets, are going to be able to be played in the Modern format. On top of the most recent sub-series, which in this case was Dice, and the upcoming Rift Watchers sub-series will also be playable in the Modern format when that comes out. And then as well as the Modern reward cards. But this is where it gets tricky, because if you go to this edition section to reward, you're also going to see some of the older cards in here. Let me scroll down to find one. Here's a good one. The Eaton Spearman, for example. He is an older reward card, so he won't be eligible to be used in the Modern format. He can only be used in the Wild format once they make the switch. You can tell this, you sort of just have to know the card designs. So these Chaos Legion card designs, which are kind of like the smooth, curvy lines, they'll be Modern. The cracked card designs are rewards for Untamed, and they match up with the cards themselves, right? So if I go to Untamed here, you'll see the crack. If I go to reward, you'll see the crack on the Untamed rewards. If I go to Chaos, you see sort of the smooth circular design. And if I go to rewards, same thing. So alpha, beta, and promo, oh, well, promo is the same way. There aren't a lot of Modern promo cards, but there are 2. The first is the, let me find them. Actually, let's just go straight to promo. The first is the Halfling Alchemist. As you can see, the cracked design means he's untamed and can be played in the Modern format. And then you probably won't have to worry about this card because not a lot of people have them, but the Mighty Dricken. As you can see, $7,500 price tag for one of these, but he could be played. I've actually never come across one, but the Mighty Dricken could be played in the Modern format. So there are a couple things to note about this before we get into more of the strategy. So if we go back to the battle page, this whole league thing that I went over to start with the different power ratings, each league is going to have its own power rating. So we don't know how much that's going to decrease for the Modern League, because that's what they're doing. They're decreasing the power requirements, which I'll explain why in a second. So, I mean, I don't know if the Silver one going to become 10,000 power or more, and then this becomes 30, and then this becomes 50. We don't know yet, but the power is decreasing in the Modern format that will allow you to move up into these higher leagues. And the reason for that is if we go back to cards, I'm just going to go to Untamed. Actually, we'll go to Fire. And we'll do both of these. I'll just do my own cards. So as you can see, I'll go to a common. I have 5 of these at 50, so you can see the DEC value is 10, which I covered in a previous episode. This is the collection power that you get from this card. So 10 per untamed common. If you go to a Chaos Legion common, you see it's 5. And that's true of the older cards as well. It keeps the collection power is higher in the previous editions, and I assume they're going to keep following that same format until they reach a point where they think it's adequate. But for that reason, the modern leagues are going to have lower collection power requirements. And you can play in both leagues too, I should mention that. And each will have its own reward structure. Again, we don't have a lot of set details about that, but it's not like you can only play in, you have to pick, right? Like I can play a bunch of modern battles. Then if I want to play some wild battles, like I don't know if maybe they'll have 2 separate daily quests for you to complete and get rewards. We just don't know. But if that's the case, you'll be able to collect daily quests from both. You don't have to sort of make that decision, at least not that they've indicated yet. So how should you strategize to take advantage of these upcoming changes coming to Splinterlands? Well, to help you understand that, I'll walk you through a little bit of my thought process and how I've sort of designed my deck. So as I mentioned previously, I came in at an interesting time for Splinterlands. I came in as they were finishing up the Untamed pack sales, and I was at a point where I wasn't ready to commit a bunch of money to a game I just started playing and buy a ton of packs, but I really liked the game and could see myself playing. So I bought individual cards. I bought a bunch of Untamed cards, I bought some alphas and some betas, which had already come out. So I had a mishmash of a deck between alpha, beta, and Untamed, and ended up buying some dice packs and getting some dice cards as well. So I had a pretty skewed deck across all of the different editions. So when they announced this league split, I had a decision to make. And at the time I had just been playing in silver. I had sort of pieced together enough collection power through mostly my Untamed purchases. Like I bought a Kron pretty early, which has helped. But I was playing in silver, and I had a pretty mediocre silver deck. I could get to silver 1 if I really played a lot and focused. But I wasn't pushing gold or anything like that, or it wasn't super easy. So I either had to decide if I wanted to sort of keep building up this deck across all of these different editions that I could play in Wild and play a little bit in Modern, but it really wouldn't have like a true deck identity, or go all in on Modern. And basically I decided to do the latter with Chaos Legion, because I knew given the card prices, I wasn't going to be able to get a lot of the alphas and the betas to levels to make them useful in gold or beyond, which is where I want to play. I'm in gold now, and would obviously like to move up when I can. So I made the decision to go all in on Modern. And I'll just show you quickly why that was. If we go to Alpha and Beta and look at some of these prices. Right, if you go to Alpha, the cheapest Alpha card is $4. And these have different things to level them up, but if I wanted a level 8, which is what I could play in gold, it's a weird number to do the math, but that's a lot of money. It's over $500. So I just knew I wasn't going to have the capital to make investments like that, to build out alpha and beta cards. So I sold basically all of my alpha and betas, built up a ton of DEC to 1, go into Chaos Legion packs during the pre-sale, and then 2, I've been able to build up my Chaos Legion and Untamed decks through selling those cards since they were so expensive at the time. And my plan basically is to build a fully maxed out for gold Modern deck, try to get every single card I consider to be truly useful, and compete at a really high level in Modern. Maybe try to win or come in the top 10 in gold, which I will show you if you didn't know. There's some rewards if you go to the leaderboard. I don't really make an effort for this now because, again, people have leveled up alphas and betas. It's just going to be a level of power of cards I don't have. But if you come in the top, I think it's 30, yeah, come in the top 30 at the end of the season, you get this DEC reward. And you see it gets higher and higher the higher you finish up. So my thought is I can make a play for these season rewards if I have a maxed out modern deck. If I sit in between and have like a mediocre deck for both, this will never be an option for me as I sort of make my way through gold. And to be honest, if you're starting the game right now, I would suggest this route for you as well. Unless you have a ton of capital to put in the game, in which case, by all means, buy up as many alphas and betas as you can. There's certainly not a lot of them. But if you're just coming to the table and you have limited amounts of capital, I would suggest starting with Modern. Focus on the newer cards, one, because they're cheaper, two, you don't have to deal with understanding how the old cards worked, right? So like, you will have to stick to one meta to understand like, oh, in Modern League at Bronze and Silver, they spam Magic, but in Wild, archery is really the top play that they use. Like that can get confusing, and you sort of have to build a deck to be able to counter both. But now, if you know that in the Modern format right now, it's all Magic spam, you can just focus your deck on countering that. So it sort of sharpens your thought process when building your deck, and will just make it much cheaper and simpler for you to get to the places you want to go. Not to mention the decreased collection power will make it easier too, right? So like, you're going to be buying a lot of the Modern cards anyways, and so being able to compete in the Modern format will be easier given the lower collection power. Whereas if you were going to spend a bunch of money on betas and alphas, that collection power I don't believe is going to count in the new Modern format. And that will limit how high you can push in that league, which is where you'll probably be most competitive. And that will wrap up episode 4 of my Splinterlands Beginner's Guide series. If you learned anything today, or if you just enjoyed the content, I'd really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe. It'll help get this out to more people. Also, I am becoming more and more active on Twitter, so if you would like to follow me and talk Splinterlands with me on there, I'd love to do it. And where I'm most accessible. So I am at Hawks21 Gaming on Twitter. You should be able to find it, and there's a link in the description of the video. All right, thanks for being here. Have a great day.